Richard Codor, could you hear me? Just give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Worked. Since I've been here, you're the one who's done it more than others, but a few others have done it. I think John actually may have done it one year. Yeah. You must have done more than half since I've been here. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. A quorum has been established, so we're gonna start on only 120 seconds late. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May Board Meeting of Community Board 7. My name is Julio Peña III. I am the chairperson, and I'd like to officially open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mm-hmm. Since
Thank you. And now we will go to the roll call.
Good evening, everyone. Many of you are going to hear some names you have not heard before. We have a number of new board members. If you are joining us on Zoom, please remember to unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. Let's start with Diana Aguilar. Thank you. Grisel Amador. Thank you. Damian Andrade. Thank you. Jalia Bailey. Joan Body. Thank you. Gladys Bruno. Thank you. Jerry Chan. Thank you. Esteban Chavez. Thank you. Richard Codor.
present.
Thank you. Richard, you do not count towards quorum. John DeLuper. Thank you. Beatrice DeSapio.
Present.
Pete.
Yes, I'm here.
I think we're having audio problems for people
Oh,
at home.
God. I unmuted myself.
Yes, I see that. Hopefully that'll work. I acknowledge you, B. You do not count towards quorum, though.
Okay, thank you.
We're closer. We're closer. Gabino Morales Escamilla. Cynthia Felix. Thank you. Jamie Freed. Thank you. Ken Fung. Diana Gonzalez. Thank you. Hector Gonzalez. Thank you. Kenny Guan. Moshe Heck. Nicole Huang. Nicholas Jackson. Dan Kaminsky. Jeremy Kaplan. Aaron Keith. Y. Ko. Barbara Lee. Christina Lem. Christine Lee. Peter Lynn. Thank you. Sam Lynn. Thank you. Paul Mack. Antoinette Martinez. Thank you. Jonathan Martinez. Thank you. Marilyn Melman. Thank you. Rosie Moda. Thank you. Jamie Nelson. Thank you. Julio Peña III.
Present.
Thank you. Maria Rivas. Karen Rolnick. Thank you. Joanna Romero. Nicole Ruiz. I'm sorry, Joanna. I forgot to acknowledge you. Thank you. Nicole Ruiz. Thank you. Patricia Ruiz. Thank you. Damaris Santiago. Edward Schloman. Thank you. Sam Sierra. Thank you. Kalina Sorma. Thank you. Faye Walker. Thank you. Catherine Walsh. Thank you. Cesar Zuniga. Cesar? 1, 2, 3. You have quorum.
Thank you. Quorum has been established. I'd like to move to adopt the agenda for this evening with one correction. In item 5A, presentation by NYU Langone. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? So motion by Pat Ruiz, seconded by Damon Andrade. Is there any objection to adopting the motion as amended? Seeing or hearing none, the agenda is so adopted. I'd like to move to adopt the minutes of the April 17th, 2024 board meeting. Is there a motion? Motioned by Joan Body. Is there a second? Seconded by Gladys Bruno. Is there any objection to adopting the minutes from the April 17th, 2024 board meeting? Seeing or hearing none, it is so adopted. And now moving to our amended item, a presentation from NYU Langone from Dr. Whitman, Chief of Service. No problem. We'll just give me a flag when you see him and then we'll come back. Thank you. So we're gonna move things around. Let's go to public comment. This is for members of the public who wish to speak on an item on the agenda. Is there any public comment this evening? Any public comment for an item on the agenda this evening? Nothing on Zoom? No, I don't see any. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to committee report. No, I lied. Moving on to elected officials and representatives. We have a few here this evening and joining us virtually. But before I do that, I want to acknowledge Deputy Inspector from the 72nd Precinct in here. Thank you for coming. Do you want to say any few words or just, yeah, please come up.
Good evening, everyone. You can hear me? Really quick, I just want to quickly introduce myself. I think everyone mostly knows me in the room. Deputy Inspector Kristen Suarez from the 72nd Precinct. And, I thank the Community Board for inviting us here. Just to quickly touch base on a few things that currently have been just addressing. A lot of complaints have been coming through. I've been working with the Community Board as well as the Community Council in regards to a couple SLA conditions that are currently being addressed in the precinct. When I refer to that, I'm talking about basically a couple bars, liquor license, things we've been addressing with the SLA, who's been greatly helping us out. For anyone who has concerns, I know we've been getting a lot of 301s. Second thing that's been coming up recently, vending issues. A lot has been coming up at my community council meetings in regards to a meeting I also attended last night, 5th, 8th Avenue. We're working with the different units. We were actually out there today. We were out there in the rain for 3 hours with sanitation, FDNY, Department of Health, trying to clean some of this up, trying to help the businesses. And last but not least, the parks. We've been getting a few issues with the parks that are going on that have been coming through in the 301s as well. And we've been trying to help out with assisting with that. I don't want to get too far into everything. I know they got to lead the meeting, but I will be here at the end. If anyone has any other concerns that have been going on with the schools community, just touch base with me in the back. I'll be here. Thank you for having me.
I do have one question for you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm Pat Ruiz. I wanted to inquire on the update on crossing guards, most especially at PS 958. I understand that they were told that there weren't any crossing guards available. They themselves got about 7 applicants to apply for the position. Then they were further told that there wasn't enough money in the budget to train new crossing guards. At this time, they are using volunteer parents to wear the jackets. When is there going to be money? Is there the possibility of there being a crossing guard posted there? And my last question is, are they the only school in this district that does not have a crossing guard?
Okay, just to touch base on this, very good question. This also has been coming up recently, especially with our principal meetings. So we're short right now, I think in total about 15 crossing guards for the entire 7-2 precinct. We do have, I want to say about 25 working crossing guards, and we spread them out based on what's been going on and the most traffic and most pedestrians that are coming through. We try to put them at these key locations. We do have schools reaching out saying that it's not fair that someone has one and then someone has zero. With the people that have been applying, which we have been pushing, I've been pushing that since day one. I can't really put into effect of when they will take a class and train. I usually give the information to our Brooklyn South Borough, who is the main contact with the crossing guards, and they usually let us know when they're doing a class. I have not heard about them pulling crossing guards to do a class and do the training yet. I can't really, I'm not really sure about what you said about the funding and what's going on, if that's the reason why. But I can definitely inquire to the borough to see if there's any updates recently on when they will take a class, because I know we do have a lot of people who submitted to take the spots, which is definitely greatly appreciated. And for that school, for the parents that are volunteering, I mean, that's a great thing. It's definitely a lot of work. It's not an easy job. So I'd rather the crossing guards do it, but I think the parents from that school for definitely taking it on. But right now, if I take away from another school that has the high traffic too, then we get the complaints. So we have a school crossing guard coordinator, Judy Gonzalez, and she usually sits down with me and the YCO sergeant, you know, once every 2 weeks and just goes over where the crossing guards are placed and where the vacancies are.
Is there any opportunity to place a police car there? I mean, it's a very dangerous spot. You got the gas station, you know, you got children that are age 3, 4, and 5 years of age. You know, and in wheelchair bound, I understand they are increasing, you know, the number of students that they have. And, you know, this concerns me.
No, 100%. I agree. The schools are definitely a concern. We have a lot of them in the 7-2, which we're trying to assist with everyone. We could do some sort of special attention. I can't permanently put a police officer there for the school, obviously, because we just have crime and things that need to be addressed. But can we do special attention and definitely get our traffic officers more involved to maybe assist with during those hours to make sure everyone's following the rules with the bus signs and the crossing? I could definitely make a recommendation for that.
I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you. We have another question from Joanna.
Sure.
Microphone. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, yeah, I'm just sort of piggybacking on that. My son attends PS 958. He's 5 years old. And since September, we've been like bringing this up at the community board meeting about the crossing guards. So if there's any way that you can pull for any sort of.
What are the busy hours? Are you guys?
So the school is from 8:30 to 2:50. Those are the school hours.
Rivals?
Yeah, so arrival, actually it's 8:30. So arrival is 8:30 and dismissal is 2:50. And like Pat said, this is a specialized school with students with special needs. There are wheelchairs and there is a new school. So it's 3K to first grade right now. So they're all like 3 to 5, like
Right.
little tiny babies that really need, you know, help. So if there's anything that you can do, I would really appreciate it.
I'm definitely going to take that back to the team, yes.
And it is a busy street. So I was just gonna ask, like, how do you assess like what is the high needs streets?
Go over based off of what's going on with the traffic situation. Some schools, unfortunately, I hate saying it, but they take a lot more accidents from the way the parents park and drop off their kids. So we usually definitely look a deep dive into that. And then we also ask for the school safety, the school crossing guards that are there. We try to do less. So if the school has a school crossing guard, like you're mentioning, your school just has parents, what I try to do is do less police presence in the morning at those areas because I know they have a school crossing guard, and then try to backfill with the traffic officers, which we have 2 during the day tour, and try to have them pay more attention to the schools that don't have a crossing guard. The schools that were assigned was more based on the school crossing guard, the supervisor, Judy Gonzalez, she usually sits down with me and goes through like, it's basically based on the intersections and stuff.
Yeah.
I
'cause
do
there
hear that
is-
you guys are smaller, so I'm definitely
Yeah.
concerned the fact that they're, you know.
And there's
I
a
have
gas
3-year-old
station
myself.
and there's two exits. So a lot of people do make a U-turn. So they go in through the 36 going down to 4th Avenue, get in and come right back out. And so, it is pretty dangerous.
Yes, or I definitely will,
Thank you.
like I said, take it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have anything in regards to public safety?
Cynthia Felix?
I was just talking earlier to one of the Public Safety Committee members as well regarding the e-scooters, in particular the child that was hit in front of P-172, and what can we do to help with that. We probably are going to have a subcommittee with transportation to try to address that, but if you could tell us a little bit about what 7-2 has been doing with the scooters and the illegal mopeds.
Yes, just to touch base, that's another obviously hot topic that goes on citywide, specifically heavily in the 7-2 precinct, in front of my own precinct. When I get out of my car to walk in, I have to look both ways because the scooters come flying in the bike lane over there. So Patrol Service Bureau has been doing a great job backing us up when we ask for additional agencies and additional resources to come in to assist us with grabbing more scooters off the street. So what we've been focusing on is, actually, we did an operation about 3 weeks ago. We like to do them more in the middle of the night, so you might not see us doing them, but we are out there. It causes a de-escalation from addressing with people in the street and causing fights about removing scooters from the sidewalks. So the rule is, for anyone here, I brought it up at the council meeting last night too, spread the word, because I know everyone knows someone that has a scooter. If you have a scooter and it's not registered and it's parked on the sidewalk, whether it's registered or not, but if it's parked on the sidewalk, tied to a fence, tied to a tree, it's not supposed to be there. That's a summons, and we have the right to bolt it, cut the chains, remove it from this location, and take it on our barrier trucks. So we did something, usually do small operations within the precinct, mostly addressing a lot on 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue, and we go all the way down to 8th because it's every 7th Avenue is being affected by these mopeds. When Patrol Service Bureau assisted us, because I said I think we need something more on a larger scale to address, we were able to remove in the matter of 3 hours. We took almost 65 to 70 mopeds off of the sidewalk because so many people are consistently, there's corners that are just piled with about 5 to 10 of these mopeds on one corner, and you just move from corner to corner and they're there. And with the operations we've been doing with Patrol Service Bureau, which is involving numerous units within the department, they've been assisting us, as well as sanitation has also been joining us, because if some of these things are considered derelict, they've been assisting in taking them off the street as well. So we are aware of it. We do know, on top of the ones that are not parked, the ones that are out there, they're driving recklessly. I bring this up at all the meetings. I give specific directions. It comes from me. I make the direction, I give it out to the cops, and I expect them to follow through with it down the chain of commands. I don't want these scooters operating illegally through the streets. Number one, Sunset Park, I go in there myself, and when I see the scooters, they're not supposed to be in the parks, let alone Sunset, any of the parks. They're driving recklessly. They're cutting through the park. Children are playing at the playground, trying to have fun with their family, and you can see innocent people are almost getting struck. We stop them. The cops are out there stopping them all the time, as well as the traffic patrol special operations, seeing if they're registered, which I have to say, 90% of them, 95% of them are not registered, which means they're not supposed to be on the street. And we make it our business to safely take them off, which usually means bringing our barrier truck over or empty van to get them, issue them the summons. And I could say we make it very difficult for them to get these scooters back. It's not a 1, 2, 3 deal. 90% of them are not going back to the people. So the next job on top of that is the education for the bike stores, because we're attacking the people who are driving them. But what about the bike stores that are going out there that are selling these? We have our crime prevention officer reaching out to the bike stores and trying to, we only can lead the horse to the water, but basically trying to inform the people who are purchasing these bikes of the correct rules and how they should be registered. And we tell them we're taking so many off the street and so many people are spending $1,100, $1,200, $1,300. It just goes up. And they're losing them within a day because you're not giving the proper rules out. So we are out there. The traffic patrol specialized guys are out there as well and are doing our best to run these operations. Once a month, I try to do a big one to try to do a clean sweep. And I know it goes noticed because eventually people come outside and I'm out there with the guys personally and myself taking videos saying that we can't take them. But to repeat again, if they're on the sidewalk, doesn't matter if it's registered or not, which majority of the aren't, we are allowed to take them off the sidewalk. They cannot be chained. They're damaging the trees. They're damaging people's property. And then they just take them off. And a lot of these scooters are being used with crimes. That's one of the popular things. So the best bet is to try to attack them and remove them, as quickly and safely as we can.
Thank you. We do have a lot on the agenda this evening, so I would like to keep us moving and encourage folks to reach out to
I'll be in the
Inspector
back. Yeah,
Suarez.
I'll let
Yes.
them continue. And then if anyone has any questions they want to bring to public safety, I'll be in the back for after the meeting's over.
Thank you. So moving on to our amended agenda item, a special presentation from NYU Langone. I believe Dr. Whitman is here. Great. Coming up.
Hi, everybody. I'll keep it relatively.
Into the microphone, please.
Hi, everybody. I'll keep it relatively brief. I understand you have a large agenda. So my name is Ian Whitman. I'm the chief of emergency medicine at NYU Langone Hospital, Brooklyn, formerly Lutheran Hospital. Mostly, I just wanted to come and introduce myself. I know a few people in the room, but I wanted to make sure that everybody knows who I am / we are, and also that we're definitely happy to and welcome any feedback from the community. We're incredibly proud to serve this community. And in the now 5.5 years that I've been at NYU Brooklyn, we're really proud of a lot of the improvements that we've made. And it was already, obviously a hospital that spent many, many years serving this community. But we've managed to improve a lot of our metrics and really, I think, bring it to the next level. And I bring my own family there. We're so glad to serve this community. And I think we have placed a lot of additional resources in to serve our community, to serve our geriatric population, to serve patients that are not speaking English as a primary language, to serve patients that have financial needs. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody sort of knows who we are. I'm happy to give my email address if anyone has any concerns with their hospital stay or opportunities for us to do better. But mostly I just wanted to, introduce myself and say, thank you for trusting us with your health. And if there are concerns, questions now, I'm happy to answer them, questions later. But I just wanted to make sure that we met. Prior to the pandemic, this was something we were doing more, and it's something we want to re-engage in to make sure that we have an open line of communication with our local community that we are really proud to serve. So if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them, and then I'll certainly cede. I understand you have a busy evening.
Thank you. I know Lutheran has a long history in this neighborhood. My father himself worked there for many years, and many people have connections to Lutheran, so thank you very much. I do see a question from Antoinette.
Hi, thank you. Do you have, do you know where we can find specifically where let me see how to phrase this. You had mentioned that there were quality indicators or quality metrics that had been improved. Is there anywhere online or any specific information about what improvements have been made?
Sure. So, in brief, there are many. I'll say there are major ratings organizations that sort of rate hospitals. So one of the big ones that's talked about is what's called Leapfrog. We got an A in Leapfrog. There's only 2 or 3 hospitals in New York City that got an A rating. There are, I believe, no other hospitals in Brooklyn that received an A rating. The biggest in sort of national group that we benchmark ourselves against is something called Vizient. And in the Vizient rankings, we're in the top 15 of, I think, 150 plus hospitals in the country. And that's, against, I believe, last year, the Mayo Clinic was #1, NYU in Manhattan was in the top 10, Columbia was in the top 10, and we were in the top 15 nationally. So again, I think there have been a lot of these improvements over time.
And this
There are-
is,
I apologize. I was just going to say that there are dozens of different types of rating agencies. Over time, we've certainly made strides essentially in all of them.
thank you. And then this is specifically for this location or NYU as a whole?
Yes, ma'am. For NYU Brooklyn.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. So moving on to elected officials and representatives. First, we have Jack Rubenstein from Senator Gunnars's office. And just a gentle reminder, we're trying to keep remarks as brief as possible today. Thank you.
I will indeed be brief. I want to talk about two bills and then one community update. So our session is wrapping up in a couple weeks, a lot to do. A few weeks ago, Andrew joined street safety advocates and other lawmakers to test drive a car with intelligent speed assistance technology, which limits the maximum speed a car can travel to 5 miles over the speed limit. The bill would require the installation of this technology on vehicles of those who receive 6 speed camera or red light camera tickets in a year. And we know that excess speed plays a role in about 1/3 of traffic deaths. That's roughly the same percentage as crashes involving drunk drivers. For drunk drivers, we have a similar technology, interlock ignition devices that we put in their cars. So this is extending that same logic to speeding drivers. If you want to learn more, Andrew co-wrote an op-ed with the Assembly sponsor, Assemblywoman Gallagher, that ran in the city and state last week that I suggest checking out. And you can check our YouTube and Twitter pages, our channels, to see Andrew actually do the test drive and see the device work in action. Next, our lockdown drill bill. So Andrew joined Moms Demand Action and various mental health and school mental health advocates yesterday in Albany to rally for his bill to reduce the lockdown drill mandate in New York from 4 drills per year to 2 drills per year. New York State requires more lockdown drills than almost every other state in the country. And there's a lack of training and a lack of a trauma-informed approach in our drills. Students come home thinking that the drills were real. There are reports that some drills use fake blood and plastic pellets to simulate gunshots. So this legislation will ensure that schools focus on student safety without needlessly imposing trauma on our students, and gives the schools the flexibility they need to really design these drills in a way that suits students. One last update, we had a Girl Scout come to our office from Bay Ridge who was doing a project that's going to provide folks in homeless shelters and teens in foster care with various unopened beauty products. So we have a collection box at our office up in Gowanus on Carroll Street between 3rd and 4th Avenue. And we're collecting lip balm, blush, nail polish, lotions, perfume, mascara, etc. I left these pink flyers out in the front if anyone is interested. Thank you.
So much. Next, we have Man Yuk from Borough President Reynoso's office. And after that, Ali from Councilmember Hanif's office.
Hey everyone, I'm Manyak Yu, Director of Policy with the Brooklyn Borough President's Office. Happy Older Adults Month, API Heritage Month, and Jewish American Heritage Month this May. So wanted to remind everyone that our graduation awards applications are now open. If you are a school administrator, please note that we are offering graduation awards, 3 types of graduation awards. The Merit Award, Perseverance Award, and the Brooklyn for All Award to graduating students in between pre-K to 12. To nominate a student, you must, again, be a school administrator in a Brooklyn-based public, private, or charter school. And you can visit the Contact Us section of our webpage to submit a nomination by May 17th at 5 p.m. Also, I want to welcome some of our newest community board members who are joining us for the first time here in May. So welcome, welcome. Just a reminder, many of you should have already received an email invitation to our swearing in orientation ceremony, which is taking place on June 24th at 6:30 p.m. This is mandatory for all members of the 2024 to 2026 cohort. So this applies to both current new appointees as well as reappointees. Unfortunately, public members will not be able to attend just because of capacity issues, but the event can be attended both in person as well as via WebEx online virtually. So please RSVP through the link that was shared. And then finally, I want to remind everyone that we are currently recruiting young people for our Youth Advisory Council. So we are looking at rising juniors and seniors to apply for a civics education and engagement program that will last during the 2024 to 2025 school year. If you know any youth that might be interested, please share this flyer that I've left outside. Youth will have an opportunity to work on some policy ideas that are relevant to them, and also learn about other civic engagement opportunities. And then lastly, I have also left some information outside about an upcoming event we have on May 22nd on Con Edison Customer Assistance Day, which will actually not take place in Sunset Park, but it is in Councilmember Narci's district in Canarsie. So if you are interested or have anyone that's interested, please feel free to grab a flyer. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Manyak. We do have one question for you from Pat Ruiz.
Hi, Monyok. I'm a little curious. I've been on this board for many, many years, and I remember that a board member's term ends in June. The new class or new members would come for their first meeting in June, but would officially start as a board member in September. I'm trying to find out, when did it change? When was this communicated? Did I miss an email? I'm a senior now. So now that you mentioned Older Adults Month, kind of got me, but I'm just a little curious. I mean, there's been so many changes between a letter that was sent to a few of our longtime members, pretty much nicely asking them to give up their seat, which to me personally was totally embarrassing and the worst thing that could be done. We should be wrapping our arms around our longtime board members. I am going to be one of those that I think I have one more term, and I'll probably get one of those letters. But I hope not, because I'm someone like Joan Body, like Beverly Kleiman, Cynthia Gonzalez, and many others who have been here for a long time want to be here. So to be asked to step down, you know, look at the board members that have been recruited newly. Where are they? They last, what, 2 months, 3 months, and no disrespect to all of the new board members that have just joined us. But this is what we have been seeing. I think your office needs to do a study, research, something. Look at the numbers. Because to ask a long-time board member to step down, you're taking away institutional knowledge. And to ask them to come, oh, you can just come to the meetings. That is unacceptable. Thank you.
Appreciate you sharing. I'll certainly share that feedback to our office. Thank you.
Thank you, Manyak. Ali from Councilmember Hanif's office.
Ali, you could unmute yourself now.
Hello, are you able to hear me now?
Hold on one second.
Hello?
Ali,
Hi.
we could hear you now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm here in place of Mia today. Very quickly, we have a new Chief of Staff, Matt Malloy, and who was our former Constituent Services Director. So we're really excited to have him on board. We're in the final stages of hiring a new Constituent Services Director. We also signed a lease for our new office at 197 Bond Street, and will be available for visits very, very soon by the end of this month. And I just wanted to let everyone know that our office and the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice will be co-hosting a Sustainability and Resiliency Fair next Wednesday, May 22nd at PS 372 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The event will mostly be targeted towards business owners, property owners to speak directly with agency representatives. And yeah, that's updates from our end. I'll keep it short because I know you guys have a packed agenda.
Thank you so much. John Watkins from District Attorney Gonzalez's office.
John, you could unmute yourself now.
Good. Hello.
We could hear
Hi,
you.
good, great. Good evening, everyone. Hi, I'm John Watkins from Brooklyn DA Eric Gonzalez office. I work in our Office of Public Engagement. So myself and a team of about 10 people are out in the community representing all of the various boroughs, communities, I shouldn't say boroughs, but the borough of Brooklyn, but all of the various communities throughout Brooklyn. And I have the privilege of representing Sunset Park, among a couple others. Just briefly, yes, a couple people mentioned that this month is the month that is Elder or Older Americans Month. And I just wanted to let everyone know that the DA has personally invested in our own unit that specifically focuses on the elderly and especially elder abuse. We are also partnered with the New York City Department for the Aging Elderly Crime Victims Unit. So the agency takes that very, very seriously. And in many cases, many of these offenses against our elderly and seniors go unreported. And they may happen from people who are known to the victim, as well as those who are not known to them. So please be aware that we do have resources in the Brooklyn DA's office. And I'll give that number for our Action Center. That's sort of like our own 911 emergency number. And that is 718-250-2340. Lastly, one of the other things the DA's office is focused on most recently is crypto fraud. And the DA has devoted or dedicated a unit specifically for cryptocurrency fraud. This is a growing problem, not only locally, but globally. And I mentioned yesterday in the 72nd Precinct Council meeting that these frauds may be presented to us by people that we know, friends and family who are unwitting victims of these frauds. So please vet these opportunities if they come to you very carefully. And also know that our unit, our cryptocurrency unit is available for those who might have some issues. And you could call our Action Center, the number I gave you, to reach them. That's all I have for right now. Thank you for your time, and everyone have a good evening.
Mr. Watkins, can you please repeat that phone number?
Yes, absolutely. The DA's Action Center, Brooklyn DA's Action Center is 718-250-2340.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Frida from Senator Myrie's office.
Rita, you can unmute yourself now.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Great to see you all. Just one update. It's an event update that our office is doing. We're hosting an immigrant resource fair this Saturday, May 18th from 12 to 5 p.m. at SUNY Downstate. We're going to have a lot of really great providers from the social services side, housing resource providers, legal providers, and we're doing this in partnership with the Brooklyn DA's office. So we're incredibly excited, and we also will be giving away bags of fresh produce and upwards of 250 prepackaged to-go hot meals. So we really want to, get the numbers up for attendees. Everyone is welcome. We'll have food, we'll have some music, and we'll have some really wonderful providers there to be able to provide some services to our immigrant population, to our recently arriving migrants as well. And those are all my updates. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frida. And last but certainly not least, Edward Center from Council Member Alexa Vilas' office. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. Edward Cerna, Chief of Staff for Councilmember Alexa Vilas. I want to start with an event we're having in 2 days. In Sunset Park on Friday, May 17th, we're going to be having movie night under the stars. This is something that the council member funds so that families can go out and enjoy a movie in our park. We'll be showing Blue Beetle, which if you haven't seen it, is like the first Latino superhero, I think. So go check it out. Secondly, last year, we spoke about how the council member introduced a law and passed Local Law 171, which would require the Department of Transportation to redesign the city truck route. This is a big win for our community because we've seen in Red Hook and in Sunset Park the explosion of last mile facilities, and these truck routes have not been touched since the 70s. So this is a big win. I believe we're going to be on the agenda for the Transportation Committee, so we are going to come back and do that. But the portal where you all can go online and submit the feedback as to where you think the truck routes are failing, where they're working well, or what we can do different. That portal is now live. So you don't need to wait until we do the deep dive at the board. You can go online and start submitting your feedback as of now. Yesterday, the New York City EDC and the Port Authority announced one of the biggest land deals in modern history. It proposes that the Port of New York and New Jersey switch the Brooklyn the Brooklyn Container Terminal with a property that the EDC controls in Staten Island, Howland Hook. With this swap, what we're trying to achieve is that the city would then take control of the Brooklyn terminal and allow it to direct into a property that has been neglected. Some of the piers are currently condemned, falling into the ocean. And so again, the city would be putting in money. The council member is cautiously optimistic about this deal. The good thing is that we're seeing a commitment to preserving the terminal as a working industrial waterfront, which is what she wants. There's going to be a $15 million investment towards quote storage. Many of you don't know, and I know I'm kind of getting into the weeds, but right now, like for instance, bananas are being like boated into Red Hook, then they get trucked out to like Boston sometimes to ripen, and then they get trucked back and then trucked again to distribute, which makes absolutely no sense. And we then deal with all the emissions related to that. So with this $15 million cold storage, now they would come into Red Hook and presumably stay there, ripen, and then again, reduce truck traffic. Quick point here, the council member for sure does not want to see any housing on that property. Again, she wants to keep it as a working industrial waterfront. And so she does not want to see a Red Hook version of Hudson Yards. So there will be a community engagement process that is forthcoming, and I will leave it at that. Happy to take any questions, and I think there's another agenda item that I can speak to later, but you know, I'll talk about it then. Oh, quickly, I did have 13 seconds. I want to thank Pat, Cynthia, and Melissa, who's not here, because of their efforts and their leadership in this community. We co-named 36th Street between 5th and 4th Avenue after Dr. Antonia Pantoja. So thank you so much. If you don't know who she is, she was a fierce, powerful Latina that did a lot of great work in the education space. So again, thank you to the three, because now we get to see a street name and pay honor to that body of work in her history. So thank you. So the question was if a CB7 is going to be part of the community engagement process. There's a task force that's going to be created for this project that will handle the community engagement. It's being led by Congressmember Dan Goldman, but Councilmember Aviles and Senator Granardis are the co-chairs. I don't have an answer to that question, but this deal is so big that it impacts, I want to say, the entirety of our district. So presumably, you know, we would want the voice of Community Board 7 in that as well.
Thank you, Edward. Are there any other elected officials in person or virtually that we may have missed? Seeing none, moving on to our agenda. First up, the Housing Committee. There is no vote required, but I will give the floor to the chair if she'd like to add any additional items.
Everyone, how are you? Just some quick updates. The Housing Committee we did meet on April 24th. Unfortunately, quorum was not reached, but we did meet to review video presentations on the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. It was really just a meeting to sort of a pre-meeting to the land use meeting, just so that we would be able to do a deeper dive of the different topics. So we watched video presentations on the missing middle housing types, universal affordability preference, and diverse housing types. And then after that, we led a flyering session in Sunset Park where members of the Housing Committee met
and spoke with community members and invited them to attend the Land Use Committee meeting on the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. I know that's on the agenda for later, but I believe that there's going to be a follow-up meeting that'll be scheduled in the coming weeks for a vote. And then on May 2nd, there was a presentation on Homes Now, Homes for Generations. I don't know if Edward Cerna, if you wanted to talk about that now. I don't know what you, did you?
It would have to be the new business because it didn't
Okay.
come out of.
Gotcha. Okay, so I know that so just a little bit about that presentation. It was hosted by CSSNY, and presentation slides and a brief overview of that meeting was circulated to everyone. Basically, they're running a campaign called Homes Now, Homes for Generations, where they're looking to restart an HPD Neighborhood Pillars program. And they're seeking $2.5 billion. So I think Edward's gonna actually talk about that later on, but thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to transportation, where we do have a vote, and John will be presenting.
All right, continuing the theme of a lot happened, but I'm going to try to be brief. So at our last Transportation Committee meeting, we did not have a quorum, so we weren't able to do any voting on there. That said, we discussed a bunch of issues. We had comments, public comments on transportation issues throughout the district. We reviewed a dining application for Judy's at 4002 Fifth Avenue. And we also had presentations from the DOT about their Reconnecting Communities grant and Brooklyn Greenway initiative about the status of greenways throughout our district. From that, the highlight agenda item I want to call your attention to is the dining out application for Judy's. In your board packet, you should have received this, which has the full details of their presentation. And they spoke to us about a bunch of things, but they showed that they got feedback from the DOT. They showed their current and proposed setup. They answered questions that board members had about layout, safety, and weatherproofing, as well as store frontage. So based on that, while we didn't have a quorum, I'd like to move that we approve the dining out application. It looks like our chair, Katie, has additional factors she wants to add in.
Katie Walsh. I just wanted to add, I think some folks maybe don't know about what dining out is, and I just wanted to give 2 seconds of context. So these are the sheds. These are the outdoor dining sheds. There was a different type of way that you could go ahead and have those types of dining sheds under the pandemic, and that process changed. This is the new process. There are some materials outside on dining out. So in effect, I'm not a DOT representative. I'm just going to do my best based on the presentation. If you're a business in this community and you want to have a dining shed during the months of April
1st to November 29th.
Okay, April 1st to November 29th, you have to go through this process. So this is the PSA. If you're somebody who knows someone or has a business, any of the sheds have to go through this dining out process. So this is a new process. So we thank Judy's because they're the first business that has at least made its way to Community Board 7 to go through this. This was educational for us as well. And they were very thorough in their presentation and like showed us what they're going to build and how it's going to be responsive to the needs in the blocks. So, but do pick this up. And I do think that's the other thing to notice is that you'll see sheds coming down. And you also might see sheds that are derelict, right? So that has been a common concern that's come up from community members. You can call 311 if you see a derelict shed. At least it should always make it through the list and the inventory. But do know that this is a process that they should undertake. So with that.
Actually, before I move, let me add one other addendum that if you know of businesses that currently have dining sheds, they have to get their applications into DOT to do the new setup by August 3rd. At that point, they have, according to the DOT's dining out info, they have 30 days after they get approval or November 1st, whichever comes first, for them to take down their existing setup. So, and now I will move to approve the dining out application for Judy's at 4002 Fifth Avenue. and I would need a second for that. Okay.
Seconded by Joan Body. Is there discussion on the motion? Board member? Let me just grab you a microphone. We're asking everyone to use the microphone so that folks on Zoom and the recording can pick us up. Thank you.
What?
I'm curious how you're going about reaching out to those other businesses, because a lot of them are predominantly Spanish speaking, and Judy's is a fairly new business that honestly, I mean, first of all, it's a bar and it's mostly new community members who go there. So it doesn't feel fair to me right now that we're moving this motion for Judy's and kind of stressing that it's important for those businesses to follow this process. But I'm not sure what's being done to communicate with those businesses in Spanish or in the language that they need, or even having people go there directly and guiding them through the process, because somewhere like Judy's, where most of those people who work there are born here or native English speakers, I'm sure it was very easy for them to do this. And I don't know that it's very easy for other businesses to do this.
We can make that request with DOT. In terms of outreach, I believe they did discuss that they were doing outreach to those who had the temporary sheds.
DOT said that they were going to reach out to people who had existing sheds under the current rules. They do have on their website, diningoutnyc.info, they do have information about multilingual outreach and tools. In terms of outreach, and we are required under the new rules to do these kinds of review things. If we don't review them, they go to a citywide hearing. This is, as Katie mentioned, it's very new to all of us. So we're just learning this process, same as you are. But yeah, I think Julio's suggestion is good for us to pass that feedback on to the agency.
Marilyn? Microphone right behind you.
Do you know how many parking spaces this will take, the shed?
I believe it's the same amount as the current setup that they have. The only difference is they said in their application that it's slightly smaller than their current existing one.
And it's also temporary, right? Once November
Temporary.
29th comes along, it's dismantled.
Yes,
and parking is available again.
Well, then, and the sheds are a standard design now, where they have to be able to be taken apart more easily. They actually, Judy's in their talk to us to discuss some of the concerns that board members had about adverse weather events and if they needed to be able to take it down for those. And they've actually designed the new sheds with tools like it's like reinforced with water instead of sand, so that they can move it quicker to do that when it needs to happen.
Cynthia Felix?
I have a question, and I don't know if you know the answer, but is there any regulations that say how many could be given in any given amount of blocks? So conceivably, you have Judy's there, Lorraine on the next block, which is temporary, but might apply for a permanent one. Could we conceivably have one on every block?
I'm not aware of that, but we could certainly ask the DOT about that.
Excellent question. Thank you. Damien and then Damien.
Love the idea for the shed. I guess, do you know by any chance if DOT explained that if they're like, I love for the, what's your name, by the way? Your name? Carmen? Carmen. Nice to meet you. What Carmen pointed out, do you know if DOT is specifically going to each of these businesses? Because growing up here, 22 years of my life, Judy's is relatively new, not complaining about it, but like, I guess, is DOT making their efforts to go to these specific businesses along Fifth Avenue, along Fourth Avenue, who already have these sheds and actually speaking in whatever language they need, such as Spanish? Because it's kind of like, not fair since, Judy's is not predominantly Spanish speaking and they could fill out the application in no time, but compared to these mom and pop shops who do have little sheds out, like who's reaching out to them, who's informing them? Yeah, because you could tell us to inform them, but given the chance, I'm pretty sure not everyone here knows every single business owner who have a shed out and etc.
As I understand it, DOT said that they will reach out to ones that have ones under the existing program. Beyond that, we have asked DOT repeatedly to present to this board about this, and the only presentation we got was the one that all the board members were sent. That was that virtual session. I know several people attended, but that was the only training we've got. Happy to reiterate that request, but we have not gotten that kind of presentation where we can get those answers as of now. We have to reach out to them again and ask for that specific information.
I have a question from Pat and then Karen.
Sunset Park been involved in this at all to communicate with all of the businesses?
I don't know the answer. Katie, do you remember if they had any involvement?
So I know that the bid, right, Fifth Avenue Business Improvement District, like talks to DOT, but I don't know if they're involved in this process. And just to say, like, we asked several times in lots of formal ways, DOT, please come to the Transportation Committee and talk about this new program for exactly these reasons, the types of businesses that we have here, the languages that they speak, what does outreach look like? And we heard back from the Brooklyn Borough Commissioner, no, we're not coming. So, I mean, this is the burden that you're putting on this community and the expectation. I think like everything that everyone is saying from an equity standpoint is outrageous that we are put in this position anyway as Transportation Community Board 7 members, and the fact that these are businesses in our community being shortchanged. So I mean, everything you're saying around like, this is the application that we have here, but let's talk about this process and let's talk about the lack of equity in terms of engaging this community. So just that's the position. I mean, yes, we're looking at this application, but these are really fair, legitimate questions that everyone's asking that we should have DOT show up. Please come to our meeting, talk to the community board, talk to the community, talk to businesses. Are you talking to the bid? Sorry.
Thank you, Katie.
Have to-
Yeah. Karen?
What do I have? Oh, I just wanted to know, do you know if the applicants need to pay a fee or is there an annual? Is it the same for every, like, does it go by storefront or how does it?
Sorry, I don't know if there's a fee. I should not misrepresent. There's a fee, and then also you have to put an ad in you have to pay for an ad. That's what Judy's told us. I think he paid like $100 to post the public hearing. I mean, again, DOT, please come to a community board meeting and please talk to people about this process so we can really understand how this is supposed to work and the expectations on businesses.
Thank you. And then Jerry lied. He does have a question.
A comment, right? No questions. So I also attended a different session, right? Not hosted by DOT, but for the small business in for the Asian and the Hispanic community. Asian. They have an Asian and a Spanish task force they put together. So information is given out, right? But when I follow a question DOT couldn't answer some of the questions.
Thank you, Jerry. So I would like to move to the vote. This has been motioned and seconded. Is there any objection to adopting the motion to approve via unanimous consent? Let's do a roll call vote. And just to clarify, this is a motion to approve the dining out shed for Judy's at 4022 Fifth Avenue. A yes vote is in favor of the motion to adopt. A no vote is not in favor of the motion to adopt. And Jeremy will call the roll.
Let's start with Diana Aguilar. Thank you. Grisel Amador. Thank you. Damian Andrade. Thank you. Jalia Bailey. Joan Body. Thank you. Gladys Bruno. Thank you. Jerry Chan. Thank you. Esteban Chavez. Thank you. Richard Codor.
Yes.
Thank you. John DeLuper. Thank you. Beatrice DeSapio.
Yes.
Thank you. Gabino Morales Escamilla. Cynthia Felix. Thank you. Jamie Freed. Thank you. Kin Fung. Thank you. Diana Gonzalez. Thank you. Hector Gonzalez. Yes, he left. Kenny Guan. Moshe Hecht. Thank you. Nicole Huang. Nicholas Jackson, Dan Kaminsky, Jeremy Kaplan, Aaron Keith, Wyco, Barbara Lee, thank you. Christina Lem, Christine Lee, Peter Lynn, thank you. Sam Lynn, thank you. Paul Mack, thank you. Antoinette Martinez, thank you. Jonathan Martinez, thank you. Marilyn Melman, thank you. Rosie Moda, thank you. Jamie Nelson, thank you. Julio Pena III,
Yes.
thank you. Maria Rivas, thank you. Karen Rolnick, thank you. Joanna Romero, thank you. Nicole Ruiz, thank you. Patricia Ruiz, thank you. Damaris Santiago, Edward Schloman, thank you. Sam Sierra, thank you. Kay Sorma, thank you. Faye Walker, thank you. Catherine Walsh, thank you. Cesar Zuniga. Twenty-nine in favor, 4 opposed, 2 abstention, motion carries.
Thank you very much, John and Katie. It would have to be through new business. Yeah. Moving on to land use and landmarks, there is no vote required. That's going to be coming next month. But I'll pass it to the chair if she'd like to make any remarks.
All right, hello everyone. Hello new people. I'm Diana Gonzalez. I'm the chair of the Land Use Committee. We met recently to discuss the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. This was the first of 2 meetings we are having on the subject. This one was a more general meeting about what the plan is. And then the second meeting, which is yet to be scheduled, will be the stuff that's more specific to the neighborhoods within CB7. So I apologize for not getting notes to you in time. I will have them before you actually have to vote on anything. You will receive them. And yeah, I'm not going to go into the presentation at length, but I think overall there were some concerns, but a lot of it was well received. And I expect that we'll have a nice, robust comment. I will also put a shout out. We did not reach quorum at that meeting. We want to reach quorum. So if you're on my committee, please, please, please come to the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. And moving on to the nominating committee, which I will turn it over to Joan Body to chair this portion of the meeting.
Good evening, everyone. The committee met tonight, and I will read to you 2 portions that hopefully will address many questions that you may have, especially the new people. The nominating committee has met this evening. As per our board's bylaws, it is time to conduct the nominations for chairperson, first vice chairperson, second vice chairperson, secretary, assistant secretary, treasurer, community engagement officer, sergeant at arms, and assistant sergeant at arms. According to Robert's rules and our bylaws, the process for nominations will proceed as follows. Any member in good standing may nominate themselves or other eligible members for a position. Nominations do not require a second. After all nominations have been made, the slate will be final, sent to all members, and an election for offices will be held in our June meeting, which will be held this June, the 2nd Wednesday of the month, and that would be the 15th, am I correct? The 12th. In our meeting this evening, for vice chair, we have chosen Julio Pena to run again. Julio, do you accept the nomination?
For chairperson, yes.
Did I say that? Sorry. Second vice chair. Where's vice chair?
Start all over.
Vice chair. Chairperson Julio Pena. He does accept. First vice chair Patricia Ruiz. Pat, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Second vice chair Cynthia Felix Jeffries. Cynthia, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. Secretary John DeLupa. John, do you accept the nominations? Assistant Vice Chair Karen Rolnick. Karen, do you accept the nomination? You? Treasurer Rosie Moto. Rosie, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. Community Engagement Officer Jerry Chan. Jerry, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. Sergeant at Arms Sammy Sierra. Sammy, do you accept the nomination? Sammy, are you here? We also have on the slate that YCO, but is Y here? Jeremy? Okay, then YCO is eliminated. So Sam, well, if he's not here, he can't accept the nomination. Assistant Sergeant at Arms Diana Gonzalez. Diane, do you accept? Okay, thank you. All right, now I'm opening the floor to all up nominations. Do I hear any nomination for chair? Hearing none, I close the nomination. First vice chair? Hearing none, I close the nomination. Second vice chair? I'm sorry.
She'd like to nominate Damien.
What? For second vice chair? Any other nominations for second vice chair? I close the nomination. Sorry, do you accept it? No, I forget. Any nominations for secretary? Hearing none, I close the nominations. Assistant secretary, any nominations from the floor? Okay, hearing none, I close the nominations. Any nominations for assistant secretary? You have to wait for the microphone. They can't hear you on Zoom either.
Nominates herself, Antoinette.
Yes, assistant secretary. Any other nominations for treasurer? Anybody?
Joan, Assistant Secretary, correct?
Yes.
Any nominations?
The nomination is for any other treasurer. Hearing none, I close the nomination. Any other nominations for community engagement officer? Hearing none, I close the nomination. Any other nominations for sergeant at arms? None, I close the nomination. Any nomination for assistant sergeant at arms? Barbara, you do accept. Okay, all right, folks, thank you very much. We will have the election at the June meeting.
Thank you,
Have a
John.
good night.
And moving on to the last agenda, Joanna? 1 second for the microphone.
So I have a conflict with my academics, with my schedule for NYU, so I won't be able to come in for the June, and that's why I missed some meetings. So I would like to know, are you able to vote if you're not present in the meeting? Like, can you submit like an email vote or come in and vote here like the day before? If there
An excellent question. Our bylaws dictate that for elections, for contested elections, we hold a secret ballot. So we can't email in a ballot. And our bylaws also dictate that we cannot do proxy voting. So we figured out a workaround during COVID, using a secret election online. But since we are in person, I don't think there is a good method to do an in-person vote as well as an online vote, if that makes sense. Yeah. I know. Moving on to the Joint Executive and Membership Attendance Committee, there was no vote. It was our third membership and attendance committee and executive joint meeting that we held to welcome our new board members and discuss introduce everyone, review the member handbook and committee assignments. And the meeting minutes are in the packet as well as the recording on YouTube. So moving on to the second roll call, and this is for members who were not present during the first roll call.
Okay, so for second roll call, I am only going to call the people who did not respond during the first roll call. If you don't hear your name, you've already been marked in attendance. So let's start with Jalea Bailey. Thank you. Gabino Morales Escamilla. Thank you. Kin Fung. Kenny Guan. Moshe Hecht. Thank you. Nicole Huang. Nicholas Jackson. Dan Kaminsky. Jeremy Kaplan. Aaron Keith. Y. Ko. Barbara Lee. Thank you. Christina Lem. Christine Lee. Paul Mack. Thank you. Maria Rivas. Thank you. What we received, had Maria. Carmen, is that, thank you. Damaris Santiago. Cesar Zuniga. Roll has been called.
Thank you. Moving to the chair's report. I will be brief. This was mentioned several times. I'd like to welcome our new board members. If you are a new board member here, can I just ask you to just please raise your hand? I'd love to see it. I'll just ask our returning board members, stalk them, make sure you get to know them, and vice versa to our new board members. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and we're gonna put you to work. Not lastly, there has been a request made by members of the public to reinstate our ad hoc homelessness committee. I am making a general request to this board. If you are interested in reactivating the homelessness committee, please reach out to our board office or me directly. And to see if there's interest in reinstating the committee. Lastly, as Pat mentioned earlier, we did have several board members who are no longer board members, and I want to acknowledge them, particularly these folks who have served for many years before I have been on the board, for helping to shepherd our work in our community and for volunteering over these past years. I would even guess hundreds of hours of their time. I'd like to thank Ryan Smith, Angie Lau, Victor Swinton, John Johnston, Beverly Kleinman, Cynthia Vandenbosch, Cynthia Gonzalez, and John Fontillis. And that is it for my chair's report. And I will turn it over to the district manager.
Good evening again, everybody. Several of my items have already been spoken about, so I will not bring them up again. I do want to respond to a couple of things that were brought up today, one with regard to crossing guards. I believe that was one of the mid-year budget cuts that the mayor made, that any unfilled position, that money was recaptured. So that's why there's no training money for additional crossing guards. With regard to the dining out program, it is a very new program. In fact, they have not set up the portal for community boards to be able to respond. So I have no way to communicate what you did tonight with the Department of Transportation. So that is the joke of it. On April 26th, Julio and I met with Captains Suarez and DeSaro from our precinct to discuss various enforcement issues, nightlife businesses, including the party boats at the 58th Street Pier. A couple of weeks ago, you may have heard that there was a triple stabbing and I guess kind of a riot on the pier. They did not seem to have enough security, the private company. I believe the captain has prevented additional parties since then and has met with the various owners of the party boats as well as State Liquor Authority to try to get a handle on those enormous parties that take place at the 58th Street Pier, stemming from the 58th Street. The Future of Community Boards Working Group, which is a coalition of district managers citywide, is looking at the idea of term limits and how it's going to affect community boards. We sent out a survey to all of our board members last week. Hopefully you all filled those out. And we are looking to put together a program at the end of June for elected officials and others to talk about what's going to happen come 2028 when board members are termed out. In addition to that, the working group is meeting next week with the City Council, informally next week with the City Council Government Operations Committee. We are talking about council budgets, our need for a central staff to work with all community boards, trainings for both staff and for board members. And I will be specifically speaking about the need for translation and interpretation services for community boards. I've started looking at this in a new way. Previously, I've been asking for $40,000 to $50,000 a year to be able to pay for those services. But now I started thinking, why should a $250,000 agency pay for these services when there are multiple million and multiple billion-dollar agencies that are providing testimony to us? They should be paying for translation. So I'm going to bring up both. Give us a budget increase and force the agencies to provide translation services. The Neighborhood Advisory Board is recruiting new members, if I could find that sheet. For those of you who don't know, people often confuse the Neighborhood Advisory Board with the Community Board, but the Neighborhood Advisory Board is through the Department of Youth and Community Development, and they help allocate funds for local programs to alleviate poverty and determine priorities. Basically, you look through applications and you rate them. There are flyers on the tables outside for anybody who's interested in joining the local Neighborhood Advisory Board. Manyuk spoke about the Youth Advisory Council, so I won't bring that up. Liquor licenses since the last meeting, we have 11 new and renewal applications. Cannabis licenses, we have 1 since the last meeting. And dining out applications, we have 0 since the last meeting. Finally, the police department statistics are on the table on the just outside the door.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions? Cynthia Felix?
Not a question, but a comment. I urge everyone to join the Public Safety Committee on May 23rd, where we will be hearing one SLA application. A bar would like to change its mode of operation to a topless bar. And we are going to hear concerns about the party boats as well as nightlife, the bars around the community. May 23rd, I urge you to come out. The 72nd precinct will be here as well as the applicant for the topless bar. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanna?
A comment, not related to you, but can we have the new board members introduce themselves? I don't think did we do that?
We didn't. I had them raise their hand, but
Okay.
we can certainly do that.
Because I remember doing that last year. Okay.
Thank you. We are going to pass the mic around and ask our new board members to introduce themselves, and we'll start in this corner.
Hi, everyone. My name is Peter. I have living here for 20 years, so I know this community. So happy here.
Thank you, Peter.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Lin. I have lived in Sunset Park around 17 years, and my background is a nutritionist and business owner. Thanks.
Thank you. Just pass it back. Thank you, Karen.
Hey, folks. My name is Faye Walker. I live at Prospect Ave at 6th Ave. I'm an affordable housing researcher and city planning background. Nice to meet you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole Ruiz. I've lived in Sunset Park for about 38 years. My dad used to have a bodega for a very long time back in the day, and I'm very happy to be here. So thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hey, everybody, I'm Jamie. I am a psychiatry resident doing my training at the Family Health Centers at NYU here in Sunset Park. So I work sometimes down at the hospital, sometimes at the behavioral health clinic just up the block on 49th Street and 5th Ave. I also ride my bike through the blocks every day.
Welcome.
Hey everyone, my name is Diana Aguilar. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, but I moved to Sunset Park in 2021. I work as a corporate paralegal, working specifically with startups and venture capital funds. Nice to meet you all.
Hello, everyone. This is Jonathan Martinez. I've been living in the district for about 13 years, and I'm happy to join the board.
Welcome.
Hi, I go by Carmen. I'm an art teacher and music producer. I was born and raised in Sunset Park. I've lived here my entire life. And I was curious to join a community board because I'm not sure. I don't really know anything yet. This is my first meeting. I don't know how much this board actually represents the community, and I think that there's a lot of gentrification happening and people moving in, and I'm even curious to understand why Windsor Terrace is lumped in with this community board because it's such completely distinct communities with different issues all around. So I'm coming in hot and I have a lot of questions and I want to see how this works and if it works. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Julia Bailey. I was born and raised here in Sunset Park. I'm excited to work with everyone here.
Welcome. Welcome again to our new board members. Moving on to old business. Damien?
Which way do you want to?
Anyways, it's not more of old business, but more of a comment. Definitely emphasize the term limits for board members, specifically due to the fact that whatever the borough president is doing to old board members, definitely appreciate that. Due to the fact that this board and other community boards around Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens and the Bronx does deserve new representation. We get it that, you guys do have great stuff that you did serve to the community, but I think it's also great to emphasize to bring that knowledge to future members of this community and for younger generations, because all the community boards around New York City lack young people specifically. Because why am I 22 years old? Sorry. Why am I 22 years old and I'm only the youngest person on this board? It makes no sense. I get it that you guys so-called want to represent us, but I think it's time for the older generation to please step down and make room for us young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. Any other old business? Antoinette?
Can we have an update on the website?
It's been fits and starts. I'm almost done. I believe the last time I had said we had sent back our punch list for the 4th time. I've gotten a response from that. I still have to enter the information. It's going to be very soon. I promise that.
Thank you. Any new business? Coming up, Grizel?
You asked to come up. I'm happy to run around.
Thank you, thank you. This is just to make an invitation for our 50th anniversary, United Senior Center Sunset Park. It's gonna be this Friday, May 17th. So you all have a special invitation. This is gonna be big party. We're gonna have 2 different music, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. We're gonna have breakfast, lunch, raffle, dance. You will really enjoy. My seniors are ready to dance. So we're gonna have our Puerto Rican Day. That's gonna be in June 17th. So you all have a special invitation also for the Puerto Rican Parade June 17th. But this one, very special. 50th anniversary United Senior Center providing service to the elderly. Not only in Sunset Park community, but in different communities, from different communities. And me, 36 years working there. Very happy working there, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business? Katie Walsh?
There
Some neighbors, the Easterlands stopped by and they weren't able to stay for the meeting, so I'm just gonna share this. On June 5th is the Brooklyn hearing for the Rent Guidelines Board. So this is for rent stabilized apartments. They make the decision around the percentage and regulation. So June 5th is the Brooklyn hearing, and then the final vote is on June 17th. So on June 5th, it's at Medgar Evers College. It's in person, 1650 Bedford Avenue on the first floor from 5 to 8. The Rent Guidelines Board, again, is appointed. The members who make up the Guidelines Board, there are 9 of them. They're appointed by the mayor. I just wanted to shout out Hanif Sakino, is a Sunset Park neighbor, used to be on the Community Board 7. She's one of the members of the Rent Guidelines Board. She's one of the 9 members. Again, this was passed along by the Easterlands. There's an organization called Met Council Housing, and they're helping to organize if you can't come in person, if you want to testify, metcouncilhousing.org. And again, June 5th, Brooklyn hearing, June 17th, final vote. And that dictates the housing percentage increases or stabilization for the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Any other new business? Pat?
Echoing on a little bit of what Damien said, it is very important in light of what also Jeremy stated about the boards of the future. Our youth is important. And I think that this board needs to think about how to outreach to our youth. Let's not depend on the borough president's office. Let's do it ourselves. But let's not disregard age. Age is just a number. I'm going to be 65 years old. I have good days. I have bad days, just like some of our other seniors in here. But remember, institutional knowledge is important. So before you throw us out, let's all communicate and let's build this board to be diverse in everything: race, age, ability, disability, whatever it takes. This is the future. And it's up to all of us. So I would ask that for the next 2 years that you guys are here, let's think about what this board is going to look like, because it takes all of us, young and old. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. I actually have a piece of new business myself. There has been a request from our council member and several other council members in support of city budget to increase budget and funding for permanently affordable housing in the tune of $2.5 billion. This community is no stranger to supporting affordable housing. It took 40 years, I believe it was 40 years, to us finally getting new affordable housing built above the Brooklyn Public Library. And for some more details and specifics, I'd like to ask Edward Cerna to come up for a moment. Thank you.
Back. I want to preface what I'm going to say that I'm not the subject matter expert on this land use items. So if you have questions, I can't answer, I could always take it back and circle around. But as I've reported here many times, the #1 issue, and we're on year 3 of our council tenure, but the #1 issue in our office has been housing. There's not a week that doesn't go by where someone comes into the office, a senior, a family that can't afford to stay in this community. And so that has always been like on the forefront and one of the priorities of our council office. So this year, as we head into next month, June is when we will adopt the budget for the fiscal 25 year, which runs from this June to next June. The New York City Council Progressive Caucus, in partnership with Comptroller Brad Lander, is launching a campaign asking for the city to invest $2 billion of capital investment over the next 4 years into housing programs, specifically 2 existing housing programs under HPD. One is called the Neighborhood Pillars Program, and the other one is called the Open Door Program. The first helps community-based organizations acquire and rehab for-profit owned housing and converting it and renovating them so that they can become affordable housing. The second program, the Open Door Program, finances new construction
of shared equity cooperatives, which, as we know, is another pathway for folks who can't afford a home to be on the path towards their home ownership. Under both programs, less than 500 units of housing have been built. So again, in this fiscal cycle, fiscal year 25, the Progressive Caucus, the council office is asking boards to join in that campaign and putting pressure on the administration to include it in the budget. The Speaker of the Council, Adrienne Adams, did include it in her preliminary budget. But again, we need to see the mayor also included, and ultimately that both, sides of the governing structure agree to it. So that is the ask, that Board 7 sign on to a letter asking for this $2 billion investment over the next 4 years. And I'm sure board members will have questions and debate. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Edward. I'd like to motion that we support the Homes Now initiative for $2.5 billion over the next 5 years. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Cynthia Felix. Is there any discussion? Antoinette?
So programs like this are extremely important, and it's a shame that the city isn't prioritizing this. 2.5 billion is not enough to fund this. So I think that instead of City of Yes and building more luxury housing, we should be in, I support this, but I think this board, it would be really important that we take a firm stance and we say that programs like this really need to be a priority and they need significantly more funding. And right now, the fact that they're just brushing it off and it's not being a priority in the budget and we're kind of like having to beg for it to even be included is disgusting, especially given the housing crisis that we're in. And then in a couple of weeks, we're supposed to vote on City of Yes for housing opportunity. And this is something that's actually going to allow for people to stay in their homes. And it's not even included in the budget. Like, that's so hypocritical.
Amen. Any other discussion? Karen?
I just have a question. It's a citywide program. Do we know how the money is going to be distributed? We could approve the money and it could go to the Bronx. Nothing wrong with the Bronx, but I'd like it to come here.
So there isn't any, this is a very broad statement in terms of supporting the Homes Now. My assumption is that it would be funded for all 5 boroughs, so specific projects that nonprofit developers and others would be focusing on would be supported. But in terms of like specifics, I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that like all 250 million in 1 year is going to go to one borough. I think it's going to be equitably, or it's going to be distributed based on specific projects, but I'm also not the expert. Any other discussion? Sure. Microphone is coming to you.
Yeah, this is more of a question for the more senior members of the board, but in the one pager on this, it says that community-based organizations with ties to the local neighborhood will build it instead of developers, which means that the neighborhoods that have such organizations are more likely to get the money. And I want to make sure that we in Sunset Park have some CBOs that are actually capable of putting up housing. Oh, perfect. Okay, then let's do it.
Thank you. But that's an excellent point in terms of keeping it in your community. If there are communities with CBOs and organizations that are able to support it and build it. Any other discussion? I would like to adopt this motion via unanimous consent to support the Homes Now initiative. Are there any objections? So Nicole is unfamiliar with the Homes Now and would like to learn a little bit more. I mean, again, I'm not an expert, and I believe Edwards, unless there's any other like specifics, I know it's an initiative to get it into the city budget that's due this June. Again, our support is broad in terms of like, we support the Homes Now initiative to fund over the next 5 years, 2.5 billion. But in terms of like specifics of the initiative or how it would actually end up being adopted in the budget, that I don't know, and I don't even think has been finalized yet. And Edward's agreeing with me that it hasn't been finalized yet. The budget hasn't been passed yet. Yes, thank you. That's what I meant to say. It would be kind of a miracle if it was passed in May. Are there any objections to supporting the Homes Now initiative via unanimous consent? Seeing or hearing none, so passed. Thank you. Are there any other new business items? Antoinette?
This will be quick, but I just have 2 recommendations from this meeting. The first is for the Transportation Committee. I know it's not a perfect fix, but if the committee could reach out to the bid, they have direct contact with all of the businesses on Fifth Avenue. And if they could at least inform them of this new shed policy, I think that would be a really great way to help at least initiate that conversation. And my second recommendation is for the chair to implement a social media and website position on the executive committee. I've been chair of the housing committee for like years now, and my name isn't even updated on the website. And I think it's time that we really consider a position that could be dedicated to that. That way we're really reaching out to the community.
Thank you, Antoinette. I know that website. Any other new business? Public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak on anything they so wish may do so now.
Hey, everybody, John Fontillis, 563 48th Street. In Brooklyn. I too have been living in Sunset Park since 1992. Seems like just yesterday I moved in, but I wanted to do 2 observations and 1 challenge, if I may. First observation, this map behind me was the very first vote I took here in Community Board 7 in 2006. And as you know, I look at it often to see, you know, how did this happen? How did we do this? We're one of the very few boards that has contextually zoned the entire district. If you look at that, most of the zoning areas here have a B or an A behind it. That means there are height limits, there are restrictions on what can be built. Not very many boards have that across their entire zone. So that's one thing that as you go through the process, as you continue on as a board, remember that that is actually the substance of what land use can do here in the board. The second observation is that in those 18 years that I've been on the board, only 5 development projects have come before the board. Most of them came during my tenure as land use chair. Those 5 projects, I think 4 of them are still being built. The one that was completed was the library project. Each one of those projects does have an affordable housing component, but it's certainly not enough. So I certainly think one thing for the board to consider is to do something that we started, which was a affordable housing plan for Sunset Park and Windsor Terrace, and really do something that I think the board does have the power to do, which is to develop your own comprehensive plan. Don't rely on zoning. Zoning is a blunt tool. It can only do certain things, but a comprehensive plan is something that can put out there the ideas that the board really believes in, and you can rub your elected officials' noses in it and say, frankly, this is what the the community wants and you should put into action. Remember, the board is 50 members. I know now like 4 council members, 2 state senators, they all served on this board and then went on to a higher office. So including one that's now mayor, who showed up here several times when he was a state senator. So I do want to say that you guys set the terms of engagement. So if you can get out there and say, this is what we want as a community, you can do a lot to go through. Okay, lastly, is that 7 seconds? Oh, okay. Here's the challenge. Okay. This board is I was having a lunch with a friend who I didn't realize was on a board in Queens. She told me that they don't talk about things, they don't have meetings. With all due respect, Chairperson Pena, they are told what to vote. I've served under 7 chairs. Mr. Pena III has been one of the most amazing to keep this board running. I do thank you for being the opportunity to serve. But you all create the community board. You all can do things that no other agency can do. So this is the first board that has rezoned its entire district contextually. This is the first board that has developed accessibility for the hearing impaired. This is the one of the first boards that has advocated for translation services. This is one of the first boards that developed the very first 197A plan, that comprehensive plan for the entire maritime district. This board, CB7, has been in the forefront on activity on the community board on the scale that very few boards really ever get to have. So I say thank you. We'll see you again. I may show up a couple times, right? Just to keep you guys honest. But welcome all new board members. You have a lot of work ahead of you, and thank you all. Oh, and lastly, Mr. Lawfer, you will be a lifer here as well.
Gonna hold on to
I
that.
guess by at least a decade. So thank you all.
Thank you, John. Any other public comment?
Hello, everybody. My name is Josh. This is less of a comment, just more of a brief introduction. I'm from NYU Langone Health, who brought Dr. Whitman today, and as you know, we attend relatively regularly. My name is Joshua Lam. I'm the new Community Affairs Coordinator. So I just wanted to give you all a brief introduction of who I am. I will be the person who will be the liaison between the board and the health system from now on. So I'll be bringing back, information from these meetings to the health system, to our department. I am also I'm able to speak Spanish, Cantonese, and Mandarin. So our office will have those language capabilities going forward. So please keep that in mind and feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yep, come on up.
I'm Krista. My husband and I have lived on 23rd Street for over 12 years. Sorry. As many of you know, the all-volunteer Greenwood Heights Association is advocating for the city to comply with fair share requirements in this neighborhood. A homeless shelter is currently being developed at 25th Street and 5th Avenue, less than a half a mile from 8 other shelters. The neighborhood is one of the densest in the city, while many districts surrounding us have no shelters or none, or very few at all. The Greenwood Heights Association is fervently advocating for the Department of Homeless Services to not only provide adequate supportive services to the 17 existing shelters in our neighborhood, but also to make the siting process transparent. We are urging the city to refrain from awarding contracts to unethical and controversial developers, including those at the 25th Street location. These developers have a documented history of severe property neglect. They are profiting in the hundreds of millions each year from the city, showing no regard for the neighborhoods they develop in. You as a community board are crucial for this work. We need your help to organize our neighbors and shed light on the inequitable and broken system of shelters in our neighborhood, despite the cities and developers' attempts to conceal the truth. We also need our elected officials to listen to our community and advocate on our behalf, preventing more shelters in our district until the necessary services are provided, the community is consulted, and a fair share audit is conducted. We need affordable housing, not more mismanaged shelters, where the only winners are the corrupt developers. The 25th Street shelter plans to house 300 individuals in only 27 rooms in a building that is unsuitable for residential use due to its history as a toxic site and lack of asbestos remediation. This is deeply concerning to us. We strongly and respectfully request that the Community Board 7 reinstate the Homeless Shelter Ad Hoc Committee also and provide the needed checks and balances, which unfortunately are not happening now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Rachel Fee. I'm a resident in Windsor Terrace. And I had two questions. One, if the chair could talk a little bit more about the homeless committee, what it previously did. You said that you were asking earlier if it could be revived. And the second question is, I'm supportive of City of Yes and adding zoning capacity in every neighborhood to build more housing, especially affordable housing. And I wanted to understand process-wise, the best way to show that support. Is it the next meeting before the vote, or are there subcommittee meetings that I could be joining as a resident of the district? Thank you.
Thank you. Just to read a public comment isn't a question and answer, but I would encourage you to leave your contact information with the board so we can respond. Thank you.
And sorry, on the homeless committee, if you could just explain what the role of the committee was previously?
Public comment isn't.
Oh, I see. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No, that's fine. And we have one public comment virtually.
Stephanie Eche, you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi. I'm here with my daughter, so if you hear a toddler screaming, that is it. But I just wanted to say that the Greenwood Heights Association is a very new group that started like a month ago, right before they had a really unsafe meeting. They are an anti-homeless group led by rich homeowners. I say that as a homeowner in Sunset Park, and they are not actually trying to advocate to help the homeless. They are trying to prevent any kind of actual help for homeless people. The site that they're talking about it's very new in the process, and I just want to let everybody know Greenwood Heights Association is not a real group. They are just a couple of homeowners who got a lot of signatures telling lies about the homeless statistics in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, but I'll ask if you can keep it civil. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I would like to thank this person who made these comments. However, I'd like to clarify a few points. I'm not a rich homeowner. I'm a fourth-generation New Yorker who grew up within a few miles of here. I'm a New York City public school kid raised by a single mother who grew up in public housing. So please don't judge people you don't know because it's very misleading. The Greenwood Heights Association is a blocks association. As we all know, there's a beautiful, wonderful, rich history of a blocks associations in New York City. And block associations have always responded to one issue in crisis and then have started and built into beautiful things, okay? So we're not a couple of rich homeowners. We're a organization of many, many people being supported by many people beyond that. We care about our community. And I would never judge this person without knowing her, without speaking to her. And that's not very neighborly, what she just said. If anyone has questions, more than happy to answer them. And I've read every report on homelessness that New York City has produced. And when she says that we're not telling the statistics, and if anyone wants me to send a dossier on the statistics that New York City has produced on this issue, I'm more than happy to do that. Anything that I said to you just now is based in absolute fact and not hearsay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, this meeting is now adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.
Be an interesting year.